In this photograph of a long-eared owl, there were branches in the way because this owl is trying to hide from all of us. It's nestled back in this tree and ivy, and there's branches that are overhanging and coming up from below and coming out from behind, some of which you can see along here are blurred because they're in the foreground and blurry, uh, and they're quite distracting. They're brighter than the subject. So what I came up with as a solution to this, rather than cloning, is to make a layer over here with a copy of the background layer and just put it into multiply mode, and then create an inverted mask and just paint in over these areas with a brush at about 7% flow and a white brush to paint over those bright areas that were so distracting. And I duplicated that layer and the mask in order to, again, enhance the darkening of those distracting elements. I then stamped that layer, those layers on the Windows. It's Alt Control Shift E, Command Control Shift E on a Mac. Then I took that into Camera Raw and put dehaze on that layer, and then applied an inverted mask and again painted in those areas, or you can copy the previous mask, and that really helped take care of it. So if we look here at the V4 and then add in the first layer of multiply, excuse me, and then the second layer of multiply, just a copy of the previous one, and then the dehaze layer. So let's see if we can just kind of reproduce that for you here. I'll just duplicate this layer and I'll put it on multiply. I won't do the whole image, but I will maybe deal with this area over here just so you can see the effect. And then by pressing Alt or Command and clicking on the mask icon, we get an inverted mask. I have white as my foreground on a brush, and it's soft. Let's see how soft it is. It's soft, and then a flow of 7%. And then I can narrow my brush down to fit those branches and just start painting in with a little bit of jiggle so that I don't get too heavy a buildup in and produce an edge. So I just come and make a pretty good effect of darkening those areas. So we'll just do the left half here a bit. Make sure I am getting pretty close to 100% on some of these areas because I can still see it. And then what I'm going to do is just duplicate that by clicking on the layer and dragging it down to the plus icon. And now you can see the here's the original, here's the first layer of darkening, here's the second layer of darkening, and you can kind of compare it to over here. And then what I can do is, again, on Windows, Alt Control Shift E or Command Control Shift E on a Mac gives us a stamped layer, and go into Filter, Camera Raw, and I'm just going to turn dehaze up and see what happens to those areas. They certainly get more vibrant, and they do get a bit darker. And we could also probably pull down the whites a little bit if we wanted to, or the highlights. And then just click OK. Let's now apply an inverted mask. Alt or Command click on the mask icon. It's inverted, and now we can probably just drag up the previous mask by pressing Alt or Command, click and drag the previous mask onto that layer. It says replace layer mask, and I click yes, and you can see that it's darkened those areas further. So if we peel back these layers again, here's the original, and progressively we get better and better. So that's how I ended up with this image.